We are excited to be announcing our newest presenter sponsor, Pizant Building Products. Pizant Building Products has been providing contractors and builders with the supplies necessary to complete their jobs since 1964. They've built a reputation on honest, helpful, and quality service, serving the HRM for the last 58 years. Now with 7 locations in the HRM and 1 in New Brunswick. We look forward to having Pizant Building Products on the podcast in the near future. Okay, welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Today we have with us Eastern Frontier. Eastern Frontier is Atlantic Canada's one-stop shop for buying, selling, sourcing, and evaluation of heavy construction equipment and other industrial assets. We have John Adams and Harold Druken, co-founders. So some fine gentlemen from Newfoundland here with us today. And excited to chat with you guys, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dan. And we did not bring the storm. All right, just to let you know, some people we bring the heat, but we bring the storm. We didn't bring the storm.
By the time this episode drops, it'll be post Fiona, and Cape Breton's going to get hit hard, and so are we here in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland PEI a little less, but yeah, we're just hoping that the sites around the city and in the different provinces are buttoned up and everybody's safe. Yeah, we usually like to start with a little bit of background. I know since you guys got things off the ground, which is amazing, so I'm sure it's exciting times and things seem to be going well. But just personally, maybe we can start with you, John. Just a little background for you in your journey in the industry and sort of how you landed here. I know that's hard to do in a matter of a couple of minutes, but
especially for me, Harold will tell you that I don't mind talking. Let's
cut him off, Harold.
I come from the construction background, I guess you can say. I didn't start out in construction, but I did. I ended up in the bank a bit, and then I ended up in construction and project manager. We're building diamond mines and nickel mines. And then one day I took a phone call, and the phone call was I got out of that business and I got into sales. And I didn't think I was into sales, but you come to that point where you make a realization, and then that led into another opportunity that put myself into one of the positions that I'm pretty thankful for. It was another auction house in Canada, one of the largest ones. And I ended up being, I guess you can say, the sales manager, director for Eastern Canada for it. So I was in charge of Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, all those areas, and Atlantic Canada stayed my baby. And I hired Mr. Druken as he came over on board as a sales rep for the Newfoundland market. And then in
you guys have been partners in crime for a while.
Yeah, we have been. It came through it's funny how you meet people in terms of it. The referral with Harold, like it came back and forth with it, came from a friend of mine that I went to high school with, and I was looking for a guy in Newfoundland, and he gave me this guy, and sure enough, we formed a relationship that I basically say that was match made perfect, buddy. He understands me, I get him. We've put the model in place with the business when we started thinking about it. We both are the type that we like spitballing. That's our favorite word. We're just spitballing. Mm-hmm. And we do a lot of late nights, early mornings. He works the same way that I do. We're not afraid to work. We're up at the crack of dawn, and we go to sleep at our own different spots at a different time, usually early in the night, because we're not night owls. Yeah. And that worked well with him and I. And then Eastern Frontier came, and just the name Eastern Frontier.
It's a great name.
I think we went, it had to be at least a month throwing stuff around.
Oh, yeah, it's a tough decision.
Tough decision. Everything, like names, how to put it, different things about it, just the overall logo, how we came up with that must have been. Geez,
what's the story behind that? It's a good logo.
Yeah, it is
it Newfoundland based aura about it?
Well, it's Atlantic Canada base, all right? Yeah. So if you look at it, and I'll just use this one here, you've got your trees
and your
hills, right? So you got your hills, which we're in construction, so you blast the hill to make aggregate. You have a gold line here, which is actually paving, so that's the paving out of it. Threw a couple trees in there directly out of it. And then we came down here with a couple seagulls to keep the Atlantic version out of it all. And Harold and I kind of figured it may be me and maybe Harold in terms of it, but there's no droppings out of it. But then the subliminal part of it is right in here, Eastern Frontier, EFA is right in it.
Geez, you guys fit a lot into that.
Yeah. We did, yeah.
Well done. Do you want to give a shout out to the creator, or was it you guys, or was it somebody hired to do that?
Man,
it was. I had a pretty much of an idea in my mind, and kind of wrote it down on a piece of paper, and had a gal draw it up on the computer, made a bunch of changes to it, added.
So you got an artistic side too, then?
Yeah, we got a little creative. Nicole Buffett actually is the one that actually put it in into circulation. She's from Nova Scotia and works with us now as well. So she had a big input on that, and as it started going, people started to like it. So we said, "Yep, we'll stick with it."
Yeah, no, it's a good logo. It's captivating. It's simple, but yeah, it's amazing how you can squeeze that much story and just like aura into something so simple.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
And then the Eastern Frontier, the name of it, okay, the Frontier, Newfoundland. The frontier of everything started in Newfoundland, is what we always say. We're proud Newfoundlanders, both Harold and I, but we're also proud Atlantic Canadians. My roots run here with my wife from being from Nova Scotia, coming to university and doing stuff in Nova Scotia. A lot of my friends and associates down here and spending close to, I think it was 10 years in Halifax. Mm-hmm. It's been fun. So the eastern part of it, we wanted to have that in it, and the frontier end of it is good. And it's actually evolved now that people just say, well, check out Frontier. They've actually shortened it up for us. So the name being Eastern Frontier is what it is, but people say, check the Frontier app. And that's kind of evolved on its own. Yeah. And it's nice to see that right. You got something that people they'll drop the Eastern, or it's become more of a, I guess, semi-household or company, and people are accepting it. So it's cool.
That's pretty fast, a year and a half.
Yeah, definitely.
Give us a little rundown for yourself, Harold. Just a little bit. I know John shared a little bit about you guys working together elsewhere and stuff, but just take us through a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, I started off in construction. I wasn't running mines or anything like that. I was more of the demolition guy. But I got in. A guy actually, Jason Brake back home in Newfoundland was. He was a business guy, and he was developing another business. And he took apart a building, and he asked me to come down and help demolish. And so that's how I got into my construction career. But then that evolved into building houses. So I had my own crew and started building houses in Newfoundland. I built 15 or 20 houses. And then physically and the way stuff worked out in Newfoundland when it came to the price of land and whatever, I basically made a jump to sales. I went to industrial commercial sales with Kent Building Supplies back, and then that brought me to the west coast of Newfoundland into a Friday hockey game with John's buddy. And I was there with Kent for over a couple of years, and then...
Great place to make a sale. Hockey dressing room, a couple of beers.
Oh, he's solid at it. Solid.
Yeah, actually, it's amazing. I did play professional hockey back
in the day. Yes, I know. I want to make sure you mention that. Tell us about that. We're not here to talk hockey, but we got to bring it up.
So I do have my quota of dressing rooms. Actually, that's probably what I miss the most about hockey. I don't miss getting beat up, or I don't miss the tense.
Were you a fighter?
No. I was
D, or what'd you play?
I was a forward. I was a goal scorer.
Played for the Leafs and the Habs?
Leafs, Canucks, and Hurricanes.
Oh, okay.
Predominantly with Vancouver. I absolutely loved my time in Vancouver. I actually probably loved it a bit too much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but anyway.
I think I do.
Yeah, but anyway, through jigs and reels, 10 surgeries, new set of teeth, it was time for me to move on and start the second half of my life. And
what was that like? Hard transition for a lot of people after pro sports.
It was, yeah. The saying that pro athletes die twice is actually, I believe it, because I went through a bit of a time there where you just feel you weren't needed.
Your whole identity's tapped into that one thing.
And you're starting over. Your body's not 100%. You know what I mean? You start second guessing yourself. But that's where I started with demolition. The guy saw it. Jason saw it. I was in kind of a hard way, and he said, "Come down, let's go to work." And he got me up out of bed and got me going to work, put me back in a straight and narrow. And ever since then, it's been hammered down.
Yeah, well, there's lots of hockey players in the industry and people listening, and not everybody played in the NHL, but they're all playing rec hockey and stuff. So it's an honor to have you, and that's awesome. That you played in the league and you got it done. You got the scars to prove it. And
but when I hung him up, I hung him up. I don't play anymore.
You don't get out and play rec or anything.
Don't play it. I don't watch it. I'm a fan of SportsCenter. I can watch SportsCenter every morning.
Just the highlights, yeah.
Yeah, but I can't. It's just the way it's gone. I've totally made a total transition away from it, right? So now I'm trying to get out from underneath it, really, and make my own way.
Sounds like you're doing pretty good there, too.
Yeah, it's funny because we don't talk a lot about it. Harold and I have our own discussions.
He's modest.
Well, he is, and that's the thing about our partnership.
Well, it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do? What were you doing 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no,
exactly. Mine just happened to be in a public way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And That's been our motto at the two of us. You know, humble beginnings. You look at it that end of it. Now, has it opened doors and done different things for him? Yeah, sure, definitely. But he doesn't mess with morals on what it was. That was hockey, totally different industry. Was he good? Yeah, he was a good player. He's well known in Newfoundland, well known everywhere. I don't say too much about it, but you know, when you're drafted 36th overall, played World Juniors on a broken ankle. The guy's not bad. He can put a puck in the net. So that's a good end of it. And in terms of his sales techniques, that's what he has. He has the drive, he has the desire, the competitive nature.
Yeah.
All that stuff comes in of it. And competitive. You can't keep two of us down for competibility. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. We had Corey Bell and Devin Hartnell on. Devin was talking about, he played some hockey, not in the NHL, but just he was talking about how a lot of the skills playing a team sport as a pro athlete or a high level kind of transition over into who you are in your work environment, and you're part of a team, and it's like the same intangible skills that kind of make you what you are as a salesman or as a project manager, whatever it might be, right? It's a lot of interplay between the two things, right? A lot of the transition of the skills.
And it's funny when you talk about the customers we deal with a lot of the major contractors in town, and I consider them the pro athletes of the construction industry. Actually, a lot of these guys started. I mean, they're building multi-million-dollar conglomerates, and 30 years ago they had a truck and a backhoe.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And all of a sudden now they've got $50-60 million worth of equipment. They're running, they're employing 300-400 people. The ups and downs and the teamwork that comes with that, absolutely. It's
You're right.
I consider them the pro athletes, and a lot of them, when you get to know them, and that's one of our keys is we like really spending time on the relationship part of it, because a lot of some of this stuff gets very personal when you're dealing with millions of dollars and stuff like that, right? So, and I do find that these guys do come from an athletic background, because you can't run a 350, 400-person business without having to be able to adapt and to be able to work with other people.
All the mental toughness that it takes, and we could talk about that.
That's a whole separate topic.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the team before we dive into some other things. Like as far as is it 6 or 8 members that are with Eastern Frontier right now currently, or
there's 8. We have 8 on our team right now. It's broken down into 2 ways, and that was one of the big steps of it. We have our operation side, or when the sale is done and completed, the real business works, or you want to look at it the other way. So we've got, when you look at it, we have Nicole Buffett, who is our EA. She handles pretty much everything that we have for invoicing, detailing, following up with registrations. Then you move into our social media director, which is Rich Pike. He handles our website development. He was the creator of it. He's the artistic view of it, and his background in its own end of it, we'll just leave it aside, is very interesting in that side of it, which was a good fit.
Yeah, big thing for you guys, right? Because it's online.
Exactly.
You're virtual, and you're making huge sales, and like he's a huge part of the puzzle.
He's part of the puzzle, and he was our first hire directly out of it, because we needed to have that. You can't create what we're creating without having someone who knows the way around the website. And unfortunately, both Harold and I didn't, but that's not our expertise. Our expertise are differently in place. So Rich, the history with all of our team members as we break them down, they're hand selected. And when I say hand selected, we spend a lot of time. We just don't go out. We're looking for people that, number one, who understand the business. I call it as long in the tooth. They're not young. We don't mind youth or don't end of it. These guys know the equipment. They've been in the industry for a long period of time, and they know where it stands.
And that's your tagline: merging old-fashioned relationship building with today's technology, right?
That's the bread and butter of it. So we build a relationship. So that's the operation side with myself and Nicole and Rich. We handle that end of it, and then the split between Harold and I is Harold handles the sales team. So you can speak about Lonnie and Todd and the rest of them.
Yeah, when we started hiring for this, it wasn't we weren't looking for top sale. We wanted individual thinkers. We wanted people that could be able to think on the fly, develop relationships, and problem solve. So we ended up with we got Todd Rollings in Newfoundland. He's been in equipment financing, very versatile in that way. We got Jody Smallman in Nova Scotia, who's very experienced in equipment and auctioneering and everything. So he adds a whole nother depth. We got Chris Ritchie in New Brunswick, who can take apart a tractor and put it back together, and is new to the sales side, but very good relationship builder and knows equipment. And then we got Lonnie Thompson in PEI, who was servicing New Brunswick, but we've translated him into PEI area manager, as well as a lead coordinator. just because size, volume, and then be able to maximize his time. So what we have encouraged is, and it's what's different from the big conglomerates, is that we don't view our customers as numbers. We view them as relationships, right? When you're getting into big conglomerates, when you're dealing with CAT and you're dealing with all these huge companies, you got floors of lawyers you got to pay for in California, or you know what I mean? The engine is so big,
so many systems,
so big that you got to charge so much to keep that engine going, right? So all of a sudden, your customers become numbers. Where we're going to take it back a notch and say, no, we'd rather foster the relationship with the customer, even if it's less volume. That's fine. We're after repeat business, and in order to do that, you got to have trustworthy relationships. And that's what our whole business is based off of.
Yeah, the one and done is not what we're about, and the old-fashioned relationship. We listened when we put this company and we started thinking about it. We were listening to the customers. We were actually going, that this is what they want.
And you spent years listening to customers prior to this too, right?
Exactly. And being one ourselves, like, being part of construction, buying and selling equipment when I was in the construction project management, you're involved in it. Well, what does the customer need? So we took the approach, well, let's hear what they have to say. We took that, we put it down on paper. And to this day, a customer will call us up and say, hey, you should change this to your website. Boom, fast. Within 3 or 4 days, we make that change if it works for our steps down the road. We're not the type that are just going to do it willy-nilly. We're doing it when it makes sense. But when they give us that endpoint, even so much matter to say, hey, your sold signs, or we need some more of this, or break it up so you can see Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI already there with a little ticker up in the right-hand corner. That little thing makes a big difference, because if you're buying equipment and you're in PEI, you got to pay transportation. But now with the cost of diesel up, well, hey, I could probably find it here in PEI. I don't need to worry about it. Or you need going into it.
It's a good combination. Like any organization, I think, it's an opinion, but have strong boundaries, but then be open enough to listen. And when someone's got a good idea, if they're right,
think about it with yourself.
You're flexible enough to.
Oh, definitely. And we treat it like ourselves. The communication. What would you do if you were buying something? You want to have someone who's accessible. You want someone who's maybe we don't know everything about the piece of equipment we're selling, but I'll tell you what we do know. We know how to put it in place. With the seller has trusted us, makes it very easy for us to say, hey, give us a call, and they'll add more, and we'll connect it. And that has been successful. In the technology side of it, when you say, okay, we have the old-fashioned relationship, which is Atlantic Canada, as we know, you're Atlantic Canadian. You shake your hand, you look at someone in the face. That's a deal.
You're going to probably see that person.
You're going to see him at the grocery store.
Downtown Toronto. You're probably never going to see that person again, but you're going to see them. Again.
You're going to see them at Bears Lake at some corner, some stop like that, or you're going to have a beer with them.
The grocery store when you're loading up for the storm. You're going to run into them.
A bag of chips to see what you got, or you're dropping off chips, or do whatsoever. And that's what we are about. And that's Atlantic Canada. So when we say Eastern Frontier Atlantic, that's what we want to do. We want to connect everybody. And then when we say the technology side, new technology, well, today's a changing world. But you got to do it in such a way that you don't scare off some of the older generation that's looking at it.
Right, and it doesn't mean you have to lose the brick and mortar. That's maybe not the right term, but you don't have to lose like your tagline, the old-fashioned side of things that doesn't need to change. You can bring new technology in with and keep tradition. Right?
Well,
you can.
Well, you have to, because, when you look at it, all this technology is kind of new, where a lot of these business owners who built these multi-conglomerates, they're 70, 65, 70 years old. Some of those guys don't use email. So you got to be flexible enough to be able to provide it for them, and also hit his grandson, who's the engineer on the thing, looking at through the computer.
And they don't like talking to the cocky young guys either, right?
No,
they want somebody somebody who's like them, right?
They want it real, right?
They want something real. That's exactly right.
And they want someone when they dial the phone, someone magically answers on the other side, which I find has gotten away from.
No offense to any MBA students out there.
No, but the art of the phone call is kind of dying, which is kind of sad, actually, because I know people work under the CYOA and make sure it's on in digital so you can cover your own butt and stuff like that. But when you're talking to these guys, and they want to be able to hear someone on the other line, get them, understand, talk it through. And when you have that relationship, all those problems seem to be a little smaller.
Yeah.
You can text somebody and you can get so many wrong feelings out of it, and you can turn around and go, what did he really mean? But you know what?
Exactly.
All you need is the 7 digits, call them and say, hey, what's going on. So,
Yeah.
or knock on the
Especially in
door.
Atlantic Canada.
Well, people need to hear that now. You know,
Especially
you
in
think of
Atlantic
documentaries like The Social Dilemma. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but using the term user, where the only other place that's used is in, you know, people who are addicted.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
users, and, you know, all the CEOs that don't use that technology that they serve because they don't let their kids use it because they know how damaging it is.
That's
But,
right.
Well, that's the thing.
It's making us dumb, and it's making us worse, far worse communicators than we should be.
Right? Just say, well, I put it on Facebook. Well, I'm not on Facebook. So how would I see that? So they're actually limiting their audience. You're right. So we try to open up to everybody. We give hard copies. We give everything. Digital, hard copies. We try to cover the masses.
Yeah, and it's about, like, you can't let that stuff. I guess just on the topic, like it's you know, we're a media company, so we use it in our business, but personally, like to control it instead of letting it control you, because it's so easy for it to get out of hand. Your screen time is going way up. You're not calling someone, you're texting them, and it just makes you lazy. And
Yeah, and you know, like you said, stuff that we did in the past. Yeah, you know, some people say, well, you got to look at the new way of technology and change it. I agree.
Yes.
You've got to evolve with it. But that doesn't mean the stuff that we did in the past is shaking hands, knocking the door, doing a sales call.
Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right?
That's good stuff, and that'll always be here.
Yeah.
That will always be here, and we've taken the approach.
Some things don't need to change.
No, and what you do is you improve on them, and you use your technologies. You know, so right now you couldn't get a hold of you. If I couldn't get a hold of you, Dan, like you sent me a message this morning. If I didn't get a hold of you, needed something quick, I'll text you, email you, and then I'll call you. Well, you can call, text, and email, and then you can say, hey, I tried 3 ways.
Yeah.
Now the ball's in your court.
Exactly.
So that's what we push to our team. That's what we push out there to everybody and say, hey, we're here to answer. The unfortunate part about it, media makes it in such a way that that's on all the time, the cell phone. But, you know, we want to give our guys and everybody with the company some breathing room, and we're very cautious on that. We say, you know, yes, you're always on your sales, but at times you got to shut it off, spend time with your family, and that's the other side of the business. But when you come with Eastern Frontier, you're not only coming to do that, you take pride in working with a small company. We're very much, hey, we want everybody to have fun, and I know you hear that, and it becomes just but that's us. Our whole gist of it is, you know, we'll sit and we'll talk back and forth. We're friends, we're partners. We talk about everything. You know, he's involved in my relationship with my wife in the sense of, you know, he knows what my kids are doing. I know what his kid is doing. And that only makes us better because we always take that approach when we talk to our employees that are friends of ours. How is your family doing? And they're happy.
You're right. It can sound insincere to some people, but then, you know it when you see it. Like, you see these guys, you just know, like, they're doing it right. They are having fun. You know, they're going through hard times and good times, but they're communicating, and, like, you can have fun with your job. And a lot of people, when it's not fun anymore, it can ruin your life.
That's
if
when
you
production
hate your
goes down.
job. Production goes down.
Yeah.
So does your mental health and everything else, and then it bleeds into your personal life. It's just awful.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing about being a small company and what we've done. So what we do now is with my sales team is if someone needs something, it goes right to our sales teams first, right? Because I got guys in New Brunswick going through every yard. I got guys in Nova Scotia, so they get a feel for who's got what, who runs what, who's, you know.
Yeah.
So if I go to Dan and Dan needs a dump truck, I'll say, hey guys, I'm looking for a dump truck, and Todd in Newfoundland might say, I just looked at one, and you know what I mean. So what we really encourage is that communication, and sometimes that's on a group text or a group email or something like that, but it's always there. They can always reach out for help, whether it's through any of us, all 8 of us. And I stress that when I pitch deals. Yeah, you got an area manager here in New Brunswick that's going to look after your equipment, but if you can't get a hold of him, call me. If you can't get me, call John. If you can't, because we're all transparent. We're not hiding anything from anybody, so everything's above the board.
Yeah.
And who services that customer doesn't matter to us as long as he gets serviced properly.
And to further that, we're there for the customer. And when I say that it's that everybody says, oh, we're here for the customer. In terms of we're there to work for them. So if they want it sell and we got an offer coming in, you know, say $50,000-$60,000, and the customer says, look, I really need that $55,000. That's my bottom price. You know, whatever you guys charge me in the commission, the sales of it, we work on it. We will work with them to make sure that sale goes because they want the equipment to be done and moved on. And we're not beneath ourselves to know, because once you do that in any type of business, that you're willing to work with somebody to get it done, repeat business is there. Unless you really go far out and you screw it up totally.
Right.
And, you know, we're going to make mistakes. We know that. But for the most part, we stick to what we did. That is Shake the hand of the person you go see with them,
Yeah.
and introduce them to technology. And our technology aspect of it is, we teamed up with a company called Sandhills, which is great, and they have Market Book, Truck Trader, agriculture. They're involved in 60 or 70 different print items all over North America and the world, or in Australia. So when we teamed up with them, this is where we get some of our valuations, and we go through the website and we can say, okay, what is your 2005 Freightliner worth? Well, we go in, we have that technology, we can give price of what it would be in an auction, what it would be a market value, and you know what we suggest you list it for. And we're very transparent. Some of the other companies, they just keep that and they don't tell it what's for, but we say every piece, this is what it should go for. Of course, you don't know, but this is what it was been sold for, a similar like item. An auction, it could go lower. Here's what you should. So let's list it at this. If we take it to the auction, we'll cadence it down, and we can see that. And we're transparent with every piece, and that has been the success. We're not afraid to go in and say, you know what, it's worth 50 grand. Well, I need 90. Well, guess what? If you need 90, you got the wrong people, because it's 50,000, and 90 is not going to go. And we go back with it.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference. You have to be realistic. You can't expect someone. Everybody wants 90,000, but if it's only sold for the last 17 in Atlantic Canada or even Ontario for 50 grand, what are you doing? It's going to be impossible. That's brand new, and if it's used. Whereas the other side of it, we'll go in and someone say, "Well, I need 25." Well, guess what? You could probably get 42, because we see the projections, we see what's going on with it, and sure enough, we've done that. We've been involved in transactions where other people have turned around and said, "Oh, that's $80,000," and myself and Harold put through the numbers and said 42 to 40, 42 to 50, boom, sold for 45. So we know our business. We've been around long enough to know that.
And it's important that you relay that to them, because very rarely can you trick one of these contractors. They've either worked on that before, they've bought 10 of them before, they've sold 6 of them, the internet.
And they're not just going to spend 50 grand without
no, and they know.
or 100 or 200
Right.
or half a million.
Or a million.
They're not
three.
gonna,
Or a
yeah,
million three,
they're not
yeah.
going to spend $100,000 when that machine is worth 50. Although I would love to sell it to them for 100,000, it's just not there. They'll say, "No, that one's too expensive. I'll go buy that one for 50." Right? So it's important, and sometimes delivering bad news to the customers or to the sellers, that's part of the gig.
Yeah.
I know, Mr.
Better
Customer,
off telling the truth.
I know, Mr. Customer. Yeah, I know, Mr. Customer. You want 90,000 for it, but I'm sorry, it's only worth 50.
Yeah.
If you say that to begin, they might say, "Okay, whatever." But if it ends up going for 50, then they look at you and say, "Yeah, he was right."
Yeah.
But if you agree with them, then it's a pipe dream, and then it shows that you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
and sometimes the worst thing you can do is agree with somebody.
Right,
that's right.
If you really
And
care
you
about
got that
them,
right.
you're going
They'll
to tell them the
test you.
truth. Yeah,
They'll
yeah,
test
they
you.
will, yeah.
I want 100 grand for that, and you look
Yeah.
at him and say, "No, not a problem." He'll look at me and say, "He doesn't have a clue what he's talking about."
Yeah.
But if I say, "Yeah, you'd be lucky to get 50," he'd be like, "You know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
And he might listen for 65.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're always testing you.
Oh.
Got to be on your toes.
You
in
can't
this,
fool them.
And that's good.
These guys have been at this for years, 40, 50 years. These guys have been buying and selling equipment. What are you going to tell them about that? You know what I mean? They know.
And that's the beauty of our business that we're into, is that we don't need to know what that equipment is always being used for. We have to find it for them. So if someone picks up the phone and says, "Hey, I'm looking for X," not a problem. That's when we go to work. We don't really get involved. We'll ask. Harold's great for it. What are you using it for? Whatever.
Might be necessary to know at times.
Right, but if you're looking for a 325 CAT excavator, you got a year. It's got to be between 6,000 and 7,000 hours. It's a 2012. What do you do? Well, we know where to go. We know who the CAT people are. And we go with it. What do you got?
Right. Just for some context for our listeners, especially those who could be potential buyers, buying, selling, sourcing, and evaluation of heavy construction equipment. So we're dealing with here, commercial, institutional, industrial construction, building construction, civil. It could be mining. It could be forestry. I mean, across the board, right? Your revenue streams are coming from a lot of different realms.
Yeah, they come, when you look at it, there's, I guess you can say the big 4 or 5. You have your yellow iron, which is your construction, your road builders, and your pavers.
Yes.
And that includes aggregate crushing equipment and everything on that end of it. You have your forestry. We have our truck and transportation. We have our oil and gas, and you have your mining. All 5 of those, and then you can break out to smaller ones. Yeah. And then you also have, the regular guy who just is looking for an ATV or anything like that. We have that. Or you're looking for a boat, or you're looking for cranes, snow removal equipment, tons of it. We don't sell parts. A lot of people, that was one of our first things. We had a lot of people calling up, "Well, what about this part? Do you have a bunch of bolts to fit that?" We don't do that. We're into the heavy, because it's too small for us to be playing with, and we leave that to everybody else.
Yeah.
We try to stay clear of cars and trucks and stuff like
you
that.
could get whatever someone's looking for when it comes to machines. Across the board. It's just
No
like
difference.
you try and stick to your 5 main pillars there.
And we don't want to trap into anybody else's. We're looking at that and say, well, that's not what we're expert at. You can be master of none and jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
we stick to that as much as we can. We talk about it a lot, and we see potential where we can go down the road, but in due course.
Yeah.
But when someone says with forestry, in New Brunswick, they're looking to move something with Irving, or you see something that it's in Ontario, the market of it is, we're getting the calls, and people know that we're part of it. We're part of the associations that deal with that as well, too. Yeah. And through our years that we've had experience, all these guys picked up the phone and said, hey, great job with the business. You want to join the association?
Yeah.
And now
What associations are you part of?
Canadian Woodlands, Newfoundland and Labrador Road Builders, Nova Scotia Construction Association, Nova Scotia Road Builders, New Brunswick, PEI, all of those, Road Builders and Construction.
Right.
Part of the Atlantic Professional Trucking Association. We're part of the Canadian...
Any maintenance like BOMA or any of those? Like
No,
we
we
don't
have-
buy as much. It's
No.
not really yeah.
But they do come to contact us
Yeah,
end of it.
yeah.
And a lot of those guys will buy brand new in terms of, because they got different regulations in some of those aspects of it. But we're part and parcel that we know someone's connected. So as we grow and develop, you may see more of us branch out. Like the big step with us is the first year, we'll get everything down, get our brand. Now we're moving more into that and seeing, well, where can we go while still trying to keep, what we're true to core, relationship, building it, and what we see. So we're not limiting anything. I see us down the road. We've listed. Geez, I think we listed a helicopter.
Oh yeah.
So we've tried to sell a helicopter, and that's a different thing. But
How'd that go?
it hasn't sold yet. But hey, that takes the time.
Yeah.
That's what I look at it. But you know what? The beauty of that is
sold-
it opens it up.
Paper.
Yes, we sold paper. Imagine that. Yeah, you did. You sold paper at a Newfoundland in a sea can, and we sold it. Where did that end up going to?
It was it actually came back here to Nova Scotia. What happened was a business ended up closing down. They had a big truckloads of paper ordered.
Yeah.
The trucks got stopped, and the paper had to go. It was $150,000 worth of paper.
Holy.
So through the jigs and the reels, you just put it online and you start.
You sell anything, Harold?
Yeah.
Yeah. How much of your revenue do you think is from, across the provinces here in Atlantic Canada from heavy civil contractors, whether big or small, like if it's Dexter's or here in Nova Scotia, if it's there's so many smaller ones too that I find that are pricing more work and stuff like that, where they're excavators and dump trucks and.
Atlantic Canada is about 80% of our revenue in terms of where we look at it.
Okay.
The other 20% represents global, whether it's in Ontario or wherever it stands.
Yeah, so you guys are selling anywhere.
Anywhere, Egypt,
world.
Puerto Rico, Mexico. We sold stuff from Newfoundland.
You've sold stuff to Egypt and Puerto Rico in the last year and a half?
Yeah, actually, one real good call. And one of the things that we talked about was, I think it was in June of 2021 when we started to really push through the market. And of course, like anything, you have a couple of 3 months, you get everything going, you're not selling a lot. We were coming back over the island. We jumped on board with Sandhills. It was August because we signed up in August. So we had just signed the marketing with Sandhills, and it was through MarketBook. And I was in central Newfoundland heading back, and Harold was on West Coast or at that point of Newfoundland. And in a matter of 5 minutes, we had like 28 phone calls. We listed this truck and truck tractor, and we sold it. And that was really our aha that, what we're doing is going to work.
28 phone calls in 5 minutes.
Oh, it blew up the phone. And he was going, and when I'm talking to Harold, I'm driving. Now stop at a construction site, which is ironic. Stopped at a construction site in a place where they were putting in a culvert. One of our big supporters of it, he was putting it in there. We were chatting back and forth. And Harold goes, oh, I got another one. I got another call coming in. And they were coming in from everywhere. And I was on the phone stopping. He was in the office or something. And we were laughing. And it was such a way that we realized this is going to work. That guy came up.
That must have been a good feeling when you're like, oh, geez, we were on to something.
Definitely. There was a feeling that, because we always make fun of it, right? Like, we're two guys with humble beginnings that come from where it stands. And we put together this company that we're having a laugh doing. And people
You're
are
both
going.
born and raised in Newfoundland, right?
Born and raised in Newfoundland. Yeah, we're born and raised in Newfoundland. Yes, we have experience in terms of what we're doing, but it's like anything. When you start an entrepreneur, is it going to work? In our minds,
oh, that's the hardest part is just the doubt and the uncertainty, how you handle the uncertainty.
Yeah, and that's what makes us so
when
good.
the phone's not ringing.
When the phone's not ringing or one of us are down, that's where we feed off each other. And that's like I said. So
yeah, so what'd you sell to Egypt? What are they using for pyramids?
We said, what did we send
Well,
over?
that's when I got into the life
Two
cycle.
truck tractors.
When I get into the life cycle of a vehicle, of a rock shuffer and an excavator, the older they are, the more demand they are over in Egypt and these places. They don't like sensors. They don't like electronics. So if you gave me a 1985 loader right now, I'd sell that to Egypt in 3 days.
Yep.
But they won't take a 2015.
What's
But
the
they'll
currency
take
over
10.
there, remember?
They buy U.S. with us. So
Everything is U.S. standard.
we'll take
like
U.S.
everything
outside
else.
of Canada.
Yeah.
We'll take it that way. That's it. What else they give it? We're not too worried about it.
Not too worried about
we'll
that.
take the U.S. conversion.
What about the language barriers with these global people? Like, is it always somebody that?
The English language in terms of what we find with them, and again, is there's usually a broker or another person on the other side that handles it. And they take it back and forth, and
then they take the loader or something like that, ship it to Montreal, cut it in half, put it in a container.
And that's how they get it through a sea can,
ship it over there,
across the ocean,
and put it back together for $200.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's what
they weld a piece of machinery like that back together and have
$200
just like that. How?
I don't ask how.
Sometimes, Dan.
Not my problem. Not my problem, Dan.
Sometimes, hey, look, the money's good.
Yeah, once it leaves Newfoundland, or once it leaves Atlantic Canada,
they'll tell you. Get it to Montreal. I chop up, put it in a container. When it gets here, I put back together, boss. $200.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of them are coming here to Nova Scotia then, because I live close to the pier down here at Point Pleasant Park, and the sea cans are coming in every day, whether it's from Europe or New York or wherever. So they're coming in on those a lot of times.
Some are coming in on those,
depending where they're
going
from.
out. Yeah, our stuff is going over there in containers.
Yeah, it's crazy how they disassemble those big machines to get them in those sea cans.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If anybody's listening, you got an old loader, call me because they're dying for them over there.
Yeah, graders, loaders,
they can't
excavators.
get it. Yeah, exactly. And not just newer stuff. We're talking 2000s.
So it's not that hard to get top dollar for certain pieces of gear where they're really desirable, wherever globally they might be desired.
Yeah, as long as you're realistic with your pricing, you're not going to get the $50,000 that you paid for brand new, but you'll get what it's worth as a 1985 full.
What about a guy who wants a 20-ton or 9-ton excavator and he's got a job starting Monday? Do you get a lot of calls like that where it's just unrealistic how quick they want it? And I mean, I'm sure you have lots of stories of.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't do it.
No.
So what I would do if you did that, the first thing I'd do is I'd send a group text to all my guys. Guys, I got a hot guy looking for a loader. He's in a bad way. And a lot of guys sometimes will go to a contractor and say, I got one, but I don't really want to sell it, but I can switch that one out and make it work. So yeah, I can do it. Take that one, and I can make my jobs work.
Right.
You take that one and go from there.
And so aside from Eastern Frontier and the everybody being local and the way that you're dealing with relationships, all your experience and the team being in every province. What's the competitive advantage for sourcing? Like, you guys have to have such a prime network to be able to just you get a text like that, you plug it into the cloud, and away you go trying to find something from God knows where,
and that's
connecting dots, and that's the
you
job.
Can send emails, but then I get to the phone calls.
Yeah.
Sir, have you seen one of these in the last 6 months? Do you know where I can find one? You know what I mean? And they'll be honest. If they can help you out, they'll help you out.
Yeah. And that's the difference of it, right? You get something, you don't get stuck in a funnel and say, yeah, just wait a second. We'll take it. We flip it back. I get the phone call, goes out to the team. Harold gets it, way to go. We've got Lonnie, who, like we said, is from PEI, and he's our area manager in PEI, but he's our lead coordinator. Then he jumps in and he picks up. And with our sales that we've had in the last year and a half that we've started with, we have those people that we know about that are always looking for it, and the leads that are coming in. Don't forget, we've got 2 or 3 people that come in and do inquiries. We take those leads, who capture that, we categorize it and say, this is the type of guy, he's into paving. Great. We've got some paving equipment coming up. Harold, we've got 5 or 6 pavers. We need a couple of rollers. Perfect. Who do we go? So we'll reach out to New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia. Hey, guys, you're looking for it. As early as this morning, I'll even give the story last night and this morning. Yesterday, we had a cement truck that came in, took a picture of it. We knew the guy, called the guy. Offer's gone in today. As far as this morning, Harold and I meeting this morning. We had something come up that was listed in New Brunswick. We picked up the phone right off the bat, called the guy that I said to Harold, I think you're looking for one. Boom, he's interested in it right away. So we're making those connections even before it hits our website. And that gives the competitive advantage. And what you see is that it doesn't make a difference if it's $3,500 or it's $350,000 or $3.5 million. We put the same amount of energy, and we're actually happier at the $3,500 sale forks, for example. 46-inch forks is what we had with it. 48-inch. We sold one of those 32. I was happier that day we did it because why? That customer needed it, and we had it done for him. It was tough to find.
Yeah. So for our listeners, I mean, I'm looking at your website now, like mulching head, 2015 Komatsu harvester. You got a 132-inch bucket, end dump trailer, sleeper truck tractor. So just because it's not on the website doesn't mean that you might not be able to get it really fast.
Oh, that's
for
right.
anyone who's listening, because they could be checking out your website right now, or as they see clips and as they
We
You
transacted.
got a lot of inventory on there, but even if it's not there,
We transacted 4 deals this week that never even made it to the internet. Just because supply and demand. You needed it.
Yeah.
I saw it. We don't.
I'm sure that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
www.easternfrontier.ca. Check it out.
Yeah. So Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI. Do you have yards in every province where you have some of the gear sitting there? No.
No.
This is all a virtual sales team.
It's a virtual sales team. The equipment stays in the yards of the owners. They can use it or they can go wherever.
That's where these pictures are coming from, or maybe even the site it's being used on.
Could be on the site it's used for.
Yeah.
Our guys go out and take pictures. Everything is done out of it. They get as many angles they can. They get a video shot of it. The unit can keep working, like Harold said. So the guys like that. And then when you got a guy interested, you said, hey, I'm interested in that 320 excavator. You call Harold or you call one of the team. Okay, can I go take a look at it?
Yeah.
All right, we got to check and see where it is. It's on Highway 15. Head up the road, take the exit to Musquodoboit. Way to go.
Yeah, so
guys go
strictly agency kind of
That's
scenario.
right. Yeah. Acting as an agent.
Yeah, and the important thing to notice about that, because when you do get into big auction sites, and I mean, there's a lot of money that comes in that. For example, if you wanted to sell 10 pieces and the auction was in Moncton, you'd have to transport all those 10 pieces up to Moncton.
Yeah, it's not realistic. Eh?
Well, it happens because you want exposure and stuff like that. But the days now with the internet and exposure, it's
So online auctions you do these monthly.
We do them according to what the customer needs.
Right. So, but quite often.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you might do an online auction for one item, or is it always?
We'll take it wherever. Our auctions go every week.
Yeah.
We can have an auction every week because our whole platform, and that's the beauty of it, and this is the big thing of talking about it in the auction, is a different platform than our listing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But the auction aspect of it is we can sell every which way. So it's Eastern Frontier. We put it in a greater auction, and the greater auction is a worldwide global one with Sandhills and Market Book called Auction Time.
Right.
So
this is where the sourcing comes in, right?
Well, this is where the Auction Time, and that's the partner. Sandhills has a platform they called Auction Time, and it happens every week, and it's on every Wednesday. Our equipment that you sign up through Eastern Frontier, we put you in that. So there's at times 10,000 pieces of equipment, but your piece that's in, and I'll just use this for example, in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, or in Ecum Nova Scotia, you may say, well, gee whiz, John, who's going to look at it? Everybody. And then all of a sudden the phones rings, the calls, the bids, and you don't know it. But it's sitting next to your piece that's in Musquodoboit, could be looking at one in Alabama. So it's part of a greater auction, but the source of it pushing it out first is us into this platform, and we have that platform readily available to us. So every Wednesday. So we pick and choose when.
But the customer's paying for the transportation if it is coming from.
Oh, the buyer does, yeah. The buyer does.
Paying for that.
Oh, the buyer does.
Yeah, so that could be a 30,000 increase in cost, easy.
Yeah, and the buyer's made aware of that directly.
Or 200, like the 200,000, like the.
Yeah, but the guys know
paving.
that.
Yeah, the guys know that.
The guys expect that.
Yeah,
they brought all the equipment here,
and sometimes
it wasn't free.
That's the closest one you're going to get, right? Or the only one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, the supply chain right now is in a real pickle. When COVID happened, I guess you guys know the microchips are the big issue, right? So anything that had a microchip in it now is well behind schedule. Vehicles, trucks, anything like that. So that's when the big demand came on the used equipment, right? So now you can't get new equipment. So all of a sudden people they're basically getting what they can, and they'll go anywhere to get it because they don't want to wait.
So how many buyers or potential buyers would be on an online auction in a week? Thousands.
It depends.
And they could be from anywhere,
wherever it stands at. We get the inquiry, and the other part of our benefit of us that other auction companies are not doing that we do. That piece of equipment, we can sell that up to a week before. So let's say we've got it listed for 6 weeks typically when it's going to auction. It says on our website, going to auction. You can still come in and make an offer on that, but it's not going to be a low one. We know that it would have to be because you're getting 3 or 4 people on an auction. But if you need that piece of equipment today, the auction's the 28th of say October, you can buy that with us right off the bat.
You don't have to wait for an auction.
You don't have to wait.
You guys are not just online auction. It's both and.
Yeah. Right, and even if it's in auction, up until a week before that date, like we have our next big auction happening September the 28th.
And if it's bought before, it just comes off the auction.
Just comes off
and
the auction.
you might lose 1,000 members of the auction because they're looking at that piece, but you have another 1,000 looking. Yeah,
you pick up the phone.
You'll look on it and say, "Oh, I was waiting for that truck. Oh, I should have bought it. I was waiting to try to get it cheaper at auction."
Yes, that would be the reason most people would wait.
You'd be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have waited." And then next auction, you're like, "Well, I'm not waiting because last time I waited to get that truck, a week before someone took it on me."
Yeah, so the variables is supply and demand. It's the price, And then it's the individual buyer's schedule and what they have coming up and whether or not it's filled and how soon they need it. There's a few key variables there where they might just want to buy it.
Yeah, you might have a pickup and we'll say the best thing for you now is we'll market it for 8 weeks, and you'll say, I need this gone right away. We could do it in 10 days. It's not we don't recommend it, but if you're willing to just do, we can accommodate whatever.
Or
you
even
need.
the seller might want the cash too.
He might say, I need this in 10 days.
Yeah.
Or we'll say, no, we actually think we should wait 6 to 8 weeks.
Because we can get more.
That'll be more marketing, more, that'll drive the price up. And he'll say,
Unless he can't make his payroll next week.
That's right.
That happens.
Which happens, yeah.
Or he might say, take 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Take as long as you want. You know what I mean? Do your thing. So we're totally flexible on as far as what they need.
Every situation's different.
Yeah.
Every piece of gear is a little different.
And some guy might have it listed for us for 3 or 4 weeks, and he says, you know what, take that, throw it in the next auction. I don't want to be dealing with that in the winter time. I don't want to be going out and cleaning the snow off it or send my guys up to kick the battery. Let's get it gone.
Yeah.
And they move it that way. So it comes down to what's right for the customer and what the customer says to us, and we try to make it fit.
Yeah. So you guys said 80% of your sales are within Atlantic Canada.
Yeah.
20% is not, and that could be from anywhere, from Egypt to the States or wherever. But so how is it common that you're moving a piece of gear, whether it be something for paving or snow removal equipment or a dump truck or an excavator, from one province to another, like cycling around, or do a lot of times you get something from outside Atlantic Canada for these?
What happens is the snowball effect. If you're in BC and you buy a forestry piece of equipment from us and you ship it out, 99 times out of 100, you've replaced it with something. So now you got a piece that you don't no longer need anymore because you're upgrading, right? You're going from a 2013 to a 2020. So we'll say, well, why don't we sell the 2013 for you?
And
he could be in BC. And he'd say, okay, yeah, I'll list that with you guys. Yeah. And then we'll talk them because we don't have representation out in BC. But if we can develop that relationship, we can show him how to take the pictures.
Yeah.
Tell him exactly what we need for details. Yeah. And then get that to us, and we can say location BC. Everything reroutes through our computer guy. He'll mark it properly. Right. And we'll just, location is BC, and we'll sell it to wherever.
So is there a detriment for the auctions where a lot of people buying these big pieces of equipment, they're going to want to take a trip up here to see it, or even if it's from Newfoundland or Nova Scotia or over to PEI, you're not doing that in the auction, right? You're there and you're...
We do that with every piece. Every piece we got.
They're going to want to come and see it and inspect it for themselves, no matter how much info you can give them.
I would say 55 to 60% of the times they'll make sure they'll come. A lot of the times when we go back to it, they're educated buyers. They know exactly what that piece is.
Yeah.
So if I've got 45 pictures of that piece and a video, and
pictures,
and its maintenance records and everything like that, they can make a pretty good guess. They've got 4 or 5 of them already.
To the used car industry, right?
Definitely.
I mean, that's a lot of times now. There's enough video, enough pictures, even on job sites when there's a demo or a reno. There's enough stuff from the project manager on videos and pictures that you don't have to go to the site. It's kind of the same idea.
And COVID helped us out.
Still like to go though. A lot of people.
Yeah, but we'll show the bad too.
Yeah.
We'll show the bad. Make sure you show. You don't want to hide that because what happens is that gets to the destination that's sold, and it says, "Well, what about this?" Then you're in
and
a
that's
world
in the
of pain.
contract, right? Because that's not.
So we expose that. Used equipment, they expect stuff to be wrong with it. It's not going to be 110% every time. It's 10 years old. Mm-hmm. But you get ahead of it.
There's always some risk.
Yeah, you get ahead of it and you expose the good stuff, you expose the bad, and normally you come to a common ground.
And the other side of it, a lot of these guys, like we said, they're buying used equipment anyway, right? Their biggest thing of it is they don't have the time. They don't have the time right now. They're building, like here in Halifax, 46 tower cranes around here. These guys looking for equipment. You got to find a guy to go. He's the end of 5. This is our business. So we are greater than someone says, we're the customer. We're always for the customer. We're part of their business. And that's the source of it. And that's the sourcing aspect of it. The customer will say,
like
you know what, John?
Back end,
yeah, and they don't have to worry about it. Yes, we do receive that's part how we get paid, a commission on the seller side of it. But if you're looking for something, it doesn't cost you a dime to pick us up and use us. That's what we got for. We got guys on the street that are in everybody's yard. We know what's going on.
Unless you're making a purchase.
Unless you're buying
You're
brand
not
new.
paying a commission fee.
No.
Until that happens, right?
Well, if you're purchasing, you don't pay commission to us unless it's a buyer's fee on an auction. But in terms of it, the price is the price. We've already negotiated from the seller's aspect of it in terms of that commission, wherever it ranges at. Yeah. And that part of it, that's what we like about it. But the biggest part, and this is where we want more and more people in the 4 Atlantic provinces to realize, look, you may have a guy that is, your purchaser, he's buying some equipment, he's sourcing it, but you've got him doing 3 or 4 different things. hey, drop that. Give us a call. We've got guys on the street. That is our business. And like I've always said to the guys, you're into paving, that's your paving business. I'm not a mechanic. I bring my car to the shop to get fixed.
Yeah.
I'll go out and tinker with it. It won't run the same way, but I bring it to the experts. And in our end of it, that is us. That's our experts. We're the sources. We know where we're going. We're in everybody's crib or in everybody's kitchen, as Harold says, and we're there.
And another thing too, a lot of these guys and these contracts, they have deadlines. They have to be
pretty firm deadlines too, especially like I'm assuming a lot of them are public tenders, right?
When it comes to these, we're talking thousands a day after.
Yeah,
like if you're late, you're getting charged thousands a day. So
and they're probably 1 to 2 year contracts typically.
Right.
These aren't short contracts,
right? So what happens is you're 6 months and you're almost done, and your gear breaks down.
Yeah,
you need gear quick. You need it now. You need to call. You
1 week without it, it's going to cost you
right.
like 6
you got
figures
20 guys over there waiting. Right, so it's to the point where they need it, and if you can follow through and get them through that stuff, that's where the street cred comes in, and that's when the second phone call comes.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you guys do any like telehandlers and stuff for construction sites, all that kind of stuff too, right?
Man lifts, telehandlers, generators, heating, heat pumps, everything.
Scissor lifts.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll target market, right? So we wouldn't send those scissor lifts to the forestry guys. We'd send those to the guys who are buying service lifts.
Yeah.
And if we hooked a forestry package, we'd send it to all the forestry guys.
Okay.
We wouldn't general market it.
No, that's
We're not going to throw it out into the abyss.
Yeah.
We'll say, okay, here's all our woodlands in New Brunswick. Make sure they all see it. Who's in Newfoundland running equipment like that? Make sure they see it, right?
Yeah, you might send 10 scissor lifts to a building envelope company or an electrician.
Right. You're not going to send them to a forestry guy, right? So with being a small company like that, we can target market where we want. And we'll say to the guys on our Monday call, we meet every Monday. We have a motivational Monday meeting. I usually bring in some guest speaker anyway, we try to get in depth with it. But that's when we'll all conglomerate and I'll say, okay, Jody, what do you got going on? He'll say, well, I just signed up 10 drive ends. Okay, well, all right, Nicole, let's plan on who we're going to do this and target with this. Let's target this. Rich, let's get these into the upper United States. You know what I mean? And then we say ready, go, and we all go.
And then you throw in the component. Well, okay, you got someone who's interested. He's made an offer. Now he needs the transportation. Oh, and by the way, he needs financing. Perfect. We've aligned ourselves with different financing between here in Nova Scotia. We've aligned ourselves with the major 5 banks. We're tied in with a great company called CapEquip, which is based out of Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and also further. So we'll put them in touch with a financing company that can do whatever they need to do with it, and they handle it, which leaves our guys out of the financial, what's going on, because the adverse effect as well. Everybody when you're selling equipment, if everybody knows you got the finances, Atlantic Canada is always safeguarded against that. That's just our nature of who we are. So we invite somebody else in with finance. They'll take the lead. They'll deal with it. They pick us up. Not a problem. Transaction is done.
It takes a lot of relationships and a lot of partnerships, and like you said, you're part of so many associations. Just to be that central hub for these people as an agency to get from point A to B all these pieces of gear and
definitely. And then the other part of it then is the seller. Making sure that we get that contact with the seller and let them know, okay, this is the stage we're at. We've got an accepted bid. All our bids go back to the seller. So whether it's listed at $50,000, you got an offer at $15,000, Harold brings it to them and says, look, we got an offer at $15,000 on a $50,000 item. They're going to, a lot of people sometimes, but we're not afraid to letting them know. Some people take it as this way, well, you're embarrassing them and things, insulted. No, it's not. If you're buying some equipment and you're the buyer, you're going to put and try to get it as cheap as you can. That's human nature.
Course, yeah.
So if it's listed for 50, you say, well, let's offer them 15. Or usually they're not that low. They may come in at 30. Well, that's a starting point. Now, you may say, you know what? Yes, I only paid 25 for it. We don't know that. We've had situations where someone says, well, I got it listed for 50, got an offer at 30, I paid 25 for it. I was trying to get 40, but I'll take the 30. But, you know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah.
So that's the communication part, and you don't get that by sending a text or an email. You get that by sitting face to face and talking to them about their equipment and understanding what they're looking for and knowing what they want. So we tie into that.
So would this be a scenario that you might see within your team as far as like looking ahead and looking for what might be popular? Like, are you guys kind of following things like the CANS pipeline, or what's the big public tenders that might be coming out for transportation and highways and mining? And you're always watching that, right? So you're going to have a good year for dump trucks or whatever.
You get a lot of that. You get a lot of those mining jobs, and you get a lot of stuff that comes natural. So seasonal, for example, now loaders and plow trucks are hot, whereas asphalt spreaders are starting to slow down a bit. Right, so now we're pumping snow equipment and everything like that, and then everything as that transcends into winter, then spring is coming. Then you're into your aggregate and your crushing and your forestry.
It's very
and stuff
seasonal
like that.
too. Then.
You know what I mean? So it's seasonal that way, but there's so much equipment for each season that it's just almost a natural cadence, right?
Yeah.
So you take right now, like we said earlier, Fiona's going on, and with what's going to happen here. First things our conversation this morning was, there's going to be a lot of wind, there's going to be trees down around, so you're going to have people maybe looking at cutting the trees. They're going to look at doing it in Ontario. We had a huge hit on the forestry end of it when, if you recall, I think it was back in May and June, the big tornado went through Ontario, and they had all these hectares, thousands of hectares being destroyed. We had a huge call, and we sold 4 pieces of forestry equipment to Ontario, and it was strictly because of that. So we knew what was coming on.
Yeah.
We are educating our sellers, because if we know something's going to, hey, this would be a good time.
Yeah, you're
now.
Prepared for what might come.
Trying to get ahead of it. We don't know if we always get ahead. It's not
that.
easy.
Yeah.
It keeps us up late at night.
And we don't like seeing it.
Hard to speculate too, because you don't know exactly, right?
And we don't want to see major damage, and nobody wants to see catastrophic damage. But in reality, heavy equipment is what fixes it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Insurance and heavy equipment are the two. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's got to be done, whether we like it or not.
No,
Nobody
exactly.
likes to see it.
Well, that's part of your business.
Well, and that's part
Good
of
thing that you're there, though. I mean, someone has to clean it up.
The
right?
contractors are there.
Yeah, the
These
contractors
guys,
are the ones that deserve a lot of the credit.
Well, they're
too.
facing it head on. You know, these trees are crumpled over and power lines and everything like that. That's got to be done, and it's got to be done right away.
Yeah, that's what we're going to see probably here. I mean, by the time, like I said, this is Friday, September 23rd. Fiona is supposed to hit around 10 tonight here in Nova Scotia. So we're this is pre Fiona, but it'll drop post Fiona. I'm sure that's exactly what we're going to see.
You're going to have Nova Scotia power. There's going to be
Yeah.
bucket trucks going around. There's going to be there's going to be an insane amount of heavy equipment in the cleanup. Like I said, we don't like seeing it, but it's part of it.
But the fact that we're here, the fact that we can do it, we can help those contractors get it fixed up, get everything back to normal
and that's
again.
how the community can look at it. Because of Eastern Frontier and the contractors, we can have things back to normal faster.
Yeah. And we're part of the solution. We don't like being part of the problems, but we're part of the solution. And the big thing with us is, okay, that's what we need to do. Let's find out. Let's get ahead of it. What are we going to do in the winter? Yeah. You talk about the mines. The mining industry is starting to lift and starting to move forward. You have that. You still have the pipeline opportunity coming across and stuff that you see happening out in Ontario, in BC, in Manitoba. We're watching that all the time, and even down into the States, we're seeing what's going on in that
mining industry.
Mining, just everything in all the industries. We're pretty astute to that, and you're wondering what's going on in the U.S. As inflation, as different things in the U.S. The roads, the construction. All of those people coming up. Currency is great. I think today it's $1.36 or something like that in terms of it. So guess what? The Americans are calling.
So how's the hike in fuel prices affected your business?
It's hurt
in the last 3 months.
Well, it's in which
who wants to run a piece of gear that takes diesel?
Right. It's so exactly. So it helps us in weird ways where nobody wants to run it. So all of a sudden you say, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm sick of this.
I'm going on strike and I'm not running this thing.
I've made my money. I've had a good run. I don't want to do this anymore. Harold, here's 10 pieces of equipment. I'm sick of paying $160. So all of a sudden, so people are selling when they're down. But then all of a sudden, my buddy always says that they say we're recession proof, but I'm not sure if that's the case. But when times are bad, people sell stuff because they need the money. They need the cash. Mm-hmm. But when times are good, they buy stuff. Yeah. Because the economy's good, the infrastructure's going, roads are being built, and it's just the economy's booming.
So would you say since a year and a half ago when you started Eastern Frontier that was a good time to start? I mean, you're kind of post-pandemic in a way, maybe a little bit in the heat of it, but things kind of started to pick up. They never slowed down.
No.
They never slowed down in construction, but did they slow down in mining? Did they slow down in transportation? Did they slow down in
But it gave us time to think.
Yeah, things
finally,
did,
for a change.
Your segment changed. All right, so we deal in segments. You deal in the yellow iron segment, the construction. You have transportation. So transportation, as you know, the fuel prices now are high, but you still have to move things. So things have to be done. People just look to bring it closer. The construction market. We did see COVID people saying, well, gee, I can't get going. It did take a little slow with it, but it didn't hurt us. At that point in time, that actually made us stronger because we were thinking, okay, how do we get our message across? How do we have to do it? So we really took the online marketing. We know how to do it live. We've been around doing it live in the old-fashioned relationship for years, being the Newfoundlanders and being Atlantic Canadians. So we took the online component of it. It actually COVID educated the buyer and the seller without us having to educate the buyer and the seller. It was what's being done all over globally. So people were then going online. So what we did is we tailored our website to make it easier, slicker, nice, user-friendly. We didn't want to complicate anybody because we're not the brightest. So we took it ourselves and we said, okay, let's make this easy. So COVID helped us on that end of it. The part that probably, when we look at segments, okay, we had that run idea with we couldn't cross over the border, so the U.S. coming up and buying. Okay, no problem. Well, the guys in Ontario that normally buy in the U.S., they looked elsewhere and they came to Atlantic Canada. And what it did with us with our model, you had 4 grow economy just within itself, which is huge because now we're not relying so much on outside. So it's actually helped us.
Right.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit, obviously, when we get back into those microchips, they couldn't manufacture new. So our spike in truck tractors went absolutely insane because if you were going to buy a new one now, you got to wait 18 months to get a new one in. That's
until the chips were available to have there.
Yeah. So what happened is these companies jumped off building the microchips to jump on to make hand sanitizer and jump really on.
Right. They stopped their whole operation and went to
help with a global pandemic.
Yeah.
Which put the whole microchip issue like years behind.
Yeah, and they just happened to have a setup that was acceptable to produce those really fast, make a quick transition, and
but
go
what
that
it did
way.
was it set the whole supply chain back 18 months. So guys that ordered a mixer truck 12, 13 months is still not in yet, and they still can't get a date. So that just meant everybody said, whoa, wait a second, we can't get new. Let's gobble up all the used we can until the supply chain gets
This is why people study for years to become experts in procurement and logistics. It's quite a...
But it's supply
so
and
many
demand.
variables. I mean, it's interesting. It's
your
interesting,
first week in
but
economics, you learn supply and demand.
Sure, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so, that's where we've seen it. We've seen it come with it. And, of course, I've always looked at it, and I always go back. The 4 provinces of Atlantic Canada, you have the big mothership is Ontario. That's where everything is the center of the universe. Toronto, everyone believes that's it in terms of the Canadian end of it. And sometimes the 4 provinces don't always get the new equipment coming right away. It comes across to Toronto or gets off the boat in Montreal. It stops and wait to go, and someone else picks it up. So our availability of having the used equipment and making it such a way that our guys in everywhere, we've created, like I said, our own little ship and own little destination for some of the stuff that people are trading back and forth and buying.
Right.
And they're like, good.
Would any large, vast corporate companies like CN Rail or like Amazon for the logistics, like for their trucks and all their stuff on the road, would they ever buy used gear and then kind of, or that's all taken care of? Like you're not selling to anybody that's on that level, right? Most of your clients are kind of mid-range or... It could happen, right?
It could, yeah.
It could. I mean, they just might have a gap in their logistics, right? Let's say east of Ontario or something, and all of a sudden they've got to buy, I don't know, some dump trucks or something for transportation, and they might just not be able to,
They can't get them. Can't get them.
They
new
might
ones.
need 10 of them.
Well, you run into cases
and then
right
just
now.
paint them and put their logo on them or whatever, right?
That's it, and we see that now. You have a lot of projects that are going on that are getting ready to ramp up in all of Atlantic Canada. And you're seeing that the equipment is not there because of, like Harold mentioned, some of the microchips or just the manufacturers has not stepped up the OEMs yet to get it done. So now the delay has affected, 6 months, 7 months. Now they're turning to us and they're saying, hey, we're looking for 5 of this or 6 of this, or we want this to brought into our fleet. Can we do that? We got to wait another 3 months down the road. They're calling us and saying, can you get it? And that's where we see the traction, and that's where we see that, hey, this is moving because we're in Atlantic Canada. And when you say, if you got Amazon or if you got Swift or Canadian Tire, a lot of these guys buy brand new. That's their model because there's so much liability that they run through with used in terms of it in some aspect of it. The smaller ones,
and that's their whole business is the back end.
That's
and they're
right.
so vast that they just take care of that.
But we'll take anything they want to sell. We'll bring it all in to sell it in terms of the used end of it. But they may be looking for, and again, it comes down to the economics. This, your Canadian Tire, huge company all across Canada, may be looking for a forklift in their Dartmouth Crossing branch. Sure. All right, so the manager picks up the phone, where can I get it? Well, I'm not going to buy it at Ontario. I can get one here. I just need one 5 or 6 years old, and that's when the call comes in. It needs to be this. It needs to be a heister. It has to have this. It has to have that.
Or a machine with a plow for, or
Cleaning it
5
up.
of them for the parking lots in all of Nova Scotia or something.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah.
And then you also get, and we've partnered up, and we have a lot of the guys that are brokers themselves that they'll pick up and they'll say, hey, I can buy that from you because I got a guy that I know in Northern Ontario that I've been dealing with, and I can sell it to him and flip it, make a bit of money on that side.
Yeah.
And when you're talking these big conglomerates, you're talking Seaboards, and they're spreadsheet to spreadsheet. When they buy a piece new, they've already got the date picked out when they're going to sell it, right? They've already got all that built in. So
Yeah,
it's
the
spreadsheet.
cycle is just part of the
Yeah,
system.
they're buying
Yeah.
2022. Once that hits 500,000 kilometers, that spreadsheet of that year of vehicles could be 1,000 vehicles.
Yeah.
Get rid of them. We don't want them anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they go for. We want them off our books. We don't want to maintain the engines anymore. We don't want to put tires on them anymore. We don't want to put inspections on them anymore. So they say spreadsheet to spreadsheet, sell it. Then that's when we take that, put it to the auction, and they're gone. You know what I mean? Then they got, but what happens now is they can't get new rigs now. So these 1,000 rigs that they were expecting to come in 2022 are not here yet. So they're keeping their old ones. And some of the companies around locally are hiring individual trucks to keep them going in the meantime until the supply chain comes back to order. They'd rather hire you, give you an extra $100 a day while they're waiting for the new trucks to come in.
Right. The history and tracking on all this gear, like you were talking about the chips, right?
Yeah.
Like, tell us a little bit about, for just our listeners that aren't aware of how that works.
What do you mean?
Well, just is that how you kind of tell where the process of what the piece of machinery's been through with the chip?
No. Chips are in everything. Chips are in the phones. It's a big, massive. They're in every piece. They're into the heads.
Okay.
So that's just a very much of a general.
Yeah. Okay. I get you now. So what about the background of a piece of gear? Like, is that logged every time it switches hands? Are you guys responsible for some of that too?
No.
Well, a lot of these big Caterpillar and these John Deere, and they have Cat telematics. So every time that serial number gets ran, they can search the engine in the computer.
Yes, I thought that's what you were referring to when you were saying chips, but you just mean generically chips.
Yeah.
Chips for everything.
No, for everything.
Headphones,
Yeah, no,
everything.
exactly. I get it.
Yeah,
But
we don't track where it's come from, where it's going, and stuff like that. Our end of it, the chip end of it would be the microchip. Whether to make the system start, whether use the hour meter and stuff like that.
Cluster board, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the IT guys do with it, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
The old make and break engine, that stuff I know. The new chip end of it, everything now. You got a mechanic. It's a technician now.
Yeah.
He's got to plug in first and work it up on a laptop and that end of it. So that's about
So
it.
it's 80%. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No,
The
go ahead.
80% of your revenue within Atlantic Canada, would you say it's kind of split evenly between those 4 or 5 pillars, like you mentioned, forestry? Would you call it yellow?
We call construction yellow iron.
Where does that come from?
Most of the yellow iron is yellow. Most of the construction, think about it, there's a couple of orange ones out there.
Okay. Yeah,
but
that
most
makes
of it, primarily the big cat, the John Deeres, the Komatsus, the Volvos,
Yellow
they're all
iron.
yellow. So that's just, I guess that's industry slang, the yellow iron. We move the yellow iron. You got your truck tractors.
So, yeah.
Go ahead,
So it's kind of evenly between those. Yeah.
It's pretty good. It goes on the timing range.
And again, that's kind of seasonal, right?
Yeah.
Forestry might pick up at a certain time of year. Construction's probably pretty consistent.
Yeah, it
around
goes take a
here.
dip
lot
down
of
in the
people-
winter.
Right, yeah.
Right, for our provinces, you
Yeah.
go down, you see it go, but there's still people moving and selling. And then your transportation is in there, your vocational trucks, your cube vans, your flat decks, your lifting equipment, anything like that. So it all mixes in around, but for province-wise and for segment, it's pretty well equal across the board.
Yeah.
At the 80%, you may be higher in one and the other, but it just comes across the availability of the equipment that you have too.
Sure.
So
It's also a lot of it's got to do with political. What kind of state that each province is in. Right now, when I'm in every province right now, and it's an absolute pleasure to drive around Nova Scotia and see all the construction and the
Isn't it
people
something?
working and now hiring signs.
A lot of jobs created.
Like, I think that's fantastic, and not every province is like that right now. Newfoundland is in a bit of a turmoil. They're in a bit of a down. And New Brunswick is, New Brunswick's pretty strong as well. PEI is not doing so bad as well. Well, PEI is actually in a bit of a downturn now because predominantly it's farming over there, and the price of fertilizer and stuff like that has
Right.
gone to the roof.
Farmers must be clients of yours.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
times, back and
Tractors,
forth, lots of
combines,
tractors.
all that stuff, yeah. But they're finding it really hard right now because the supply is very expensive. They're double and triple the cost of what they were last year.
Yeah.
So you might see a little lull in the farming industry, right? But so when you're talking, you have big gear and you got big gear to sell, The buyers right now are in Nova Scotia because the work is here.
Yeah.
And that might totally be, in 6 months, that might be New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Right? But it's our job to roll with the punches, to see where that work is coming from, and put it on a platter for the guys. Here's what we got available, guys. If you don't want it, great. If you do need something, call us.
Yeah. How have sales been here in the province of Nova Scotia?
Great.
Specifically, great. Yeah.
Great. The province of Nova Scotia is a big supporter. We want to get out there more to the different contractors that are around.
Yeah.
But a big supporter of it is like anything new, Dan. You know, you start out, you've got to build that reputation, but our reputation is seeping out there. We have a lot of people that we've known, but they're good at it. They like the availability of where they get the equipment. We're dealing with, well, we've pretty well dealt with all the big ones here in Nova Scotia, and the relationship-wise.
Sorry, when it comes to selling equipment, they're not selling a whole lot right now because the economy's so good.
They're buying.
They're buying. Their equipment's moving now. They need more.
Yeah.
The problem in
So
Nova
busy.
Scotia...
Need more gear and more men. There's a shortage of men in any trade.
It's men. It's trades.
Yeah, and so they need more gear for those men. Right?
They have the gear. They can't get the men to drive them.
Right.
It's to the point now where I'm talking to customers where they can't bid more work. They want it.
So they have
the
more
work is
licensed
there,
drivers.
but they can't support the men. And then you got other companies that don't have enough men to do their work, so they'll subcontract other companies to do their own work.
Yeah.
So it's a great problem to have, and not all the provinces are into it, right?
Mm-hmm. So what's a month look like for you, Harold, and for you, John? Are you guys traveling a lot across the 4 provinces? I know you're traveling now. Obviously, you're in Halifax with us here in the studio, but
I'm the traveler.
You're the traveler,
I look
okay.
after
And you
the
like
sales
that
team.
part of it, I assume, because a lot of people do, right? You get to,
well, that was back when you get back to the hockey background and stuff like that.
You're
I
used
was
to
always in a plane.
Yeah.
And John had his quota. John's done the outside, and he's
Yeah,
traveled
sure.
around.
Yeah.
You know,
I did
it's my turn now.
yeah.
One year I was...
You need a break from it after a while.
Yeah, the year before COVID, I was 95 flights out of Newfoundland.
Whoa.
So I've done my
lot.
time in terms of it. I've been on it. That 95 flights was just with Air Canada
just thinking
alone.
of that.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? It was funny because flying up here, that was the first. It was the second time I've been on a flight since 2020, March of 2020. When COVID struck, I was in Newfoundland on a Friday, and I was due to fly to Montreal Sunday night. And Sunday night, I remember specifically saying, I don't know if we're going to go. It was Monday morning, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I got a text, from someone that said, no, you're off. Don't fly to Montreal. And that was the last time then until November of last year when I flew up to New Brunswick and a big package, and we landed a substantial forestry package. So for my end of
Worth
it,
the trip.
yeah, well, for my end of it, Harold does the trip, and that's where he has with it, and he does a lot of flying. My idea of traveling now is more along, brand recognition, dealing with a lot of the different major contractors in and around the
managing all those
associations.
relationships.
Right,
That's
the associations. That's
It's
my
a full-time job.
That's my horn now.
I'm boots on the ground. Johnny handles the upper
Yeah.
business, banks, lawyers, all that stuff.
Any advice for
Keeps us out of jail.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I didn't know we had an idea of possibly going down that way, but no,
That's possible every day, John.
no.
Yeah.
But that's the way it's worked out. between the
Wrongfully
two of us.
accused, of course.
Oh yeah, that's an innocent man, Your Honor.
Yes.
No, the big side of it with us is that we've split that way. It works well. You still got to have that operational side to keep the head office and everything like that rocking and rolling. And Harold is good, as you can see here in the conversation. He loves the business. He's passionate about it.
Yeah.
And he runs that in the veins of our sales team. They're just as passionate. The high fives, when we sit on our call on Mondays, and then Harold has a separate call on Thursdays with the guys so we can see what's going on. That much of excitement and fun with the guys is great. And when you see that, within seconds, the guys are responding, I got it. That's his gist of it. Travel-wise, now it's associations, provinces, landing. I
Maybe
will
a couple
be
AGMs throughout the years.
lots of those. The road builders, the heavy civil starts in January, and you got Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, and PEI. That's the order they go.
Yeah.
That's taxing on you just for late nights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we've managed
a lot more
to handle it.
potholes in PEI than anywhere else. I always found. I mean, I grew up there, so I can say that.
Did you?
Some,
PEI guy?
I'm heading there Sunday. I can't wait, actually.
Yeah.
I always enjoy my time in PEI.
Do you golf?
Always. I do,
Yeah. So might be able to get around in. Still, weather's pretty good. If it's,
I maybe Tuesday afternoon if I can, but it's not the priority of my trip. But yeah.
So, any advice for salespeople, or young guys that are doing a lot of traveling, and it's a tough balance when you're getting something going and you're trying to navigate everything, and you guys have been doing this for a while. What's
I stick to the
cold beer on a
be honest.
Be honest.
Yeah, you can't keep up with it. If you're lying, you can't keep up with those lies. So
Yeah.
if you're true to word, true to contractors,
honesty
up front with everybody, it normally works out. If you get into backdoor stuff,
Yeah, it's great.
It's just too hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
And for the travel guys that are on the move, be first in. See the guy face to face. Talk to them.
There's something really special about that. You need to do that as much as you can, especially
Atlantic,
now
Canada.
after our lockdown and all that kind of stuff.
We're dealing with entrepreneurs. We're dealing with the guys that are risk takers. Okay, a lot of cases, no matter what they are, they're the owners, they're the vice president, they're the president, or whatever, report to the board. So they're risk takers. All right, so they're risk takers. And the biggest thing that we say to our guys is, if you're there and you're hustling and you're working and you're knocking on that door, they're going to call you.
Yeah.
But if you're just sending an email, dropping in every now and then,
it's not going to work.
You
got to be present.
You got to be present. You got to show your energy. You got to show your passion.
Presence.
And if you don't, there's somebody else going knocking on the door. So what do? We've got the best sales guy. We've got sales guys that know this business. They're talented at it. They know what needs to be done. And they're up and gone to the job site, or they're meeting with the customer at 6 a.m., or they're on the phone with them 9 o'clock in the night trying to close something out from Winnipeg. And that makes the difference. And that's what has made us successful right now in these 18 months. Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing. And that's a leadership role that Harold has instilled into the team, and we take that and we run with it ourselves. And, we don't ask the guys to do stuff that we haven't done or we're not willing to do. Everybody in this industry in the construction are typically type A personalities, okay? They all deal with heavy equipment. They're all, no beans, straightforward shooters. So our days can be stressful, but we have fun on the back end of it. And the customers and the buyers and sellers have it as well. We've sold stuff out west. We still got to send some lobsters out west, actually, to Winnipeg. One of the deals was, no problem, send some lobsters. So we're selling something out to the lobsters in Winnipeg, and that's part of the sale. A goodwill that's going to come from PEI in Atlantic Canada. So we're helping out that way too. And the fishermen moving some lobsters out that way. Even though we're moving gear, we're selling some lobsters.
And normally, I got to say, in this business, you're dealing with predominantly happy people. When you're buying something, you're excited, you want it, you're happy.
Yeah.
When you're selling something, you get what you want for it, you're happy.
Sure.
We get our commission, we worked hard, we get paid accordingly.
It's a good experience. Yeah.
The guy that picks it up in the trucker, we hire him to ship it to Winnipeg, he's happy.
Yeah.
So obviously problems do come up along the way, but generally you're dealing with people who know the business and are happy about the transaction they're about to make.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the things I'm learning is, when you're doing anything that's difficult, I think a sense of humor is almost
Atlantic
Canada. It's a real power. It's a real superpower to have.
Oh yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just too damn stressful.
Yeah, and you got to,
it's a powerful thing to have. Be able to have a sense of humor.
You got to be able to know switch it on, switch it off.
Yeah, yeah.
But you also got to be able to know
with prudence.
With prudence, and it's the same way as anything. What do you want at the end of the day? And you call up your customers, and the guys are pros at it. That's their professional, and that's the step. One of the things with the company in Eastern Frontier that we have, and we look at it, is that we give the guys the tools to go out and do what they're good at, and we remove the barriers. So the barriers being, okay, what about leads? What about finding different things? What about doing some searches on the back end? That's why we have the back end stuff. That's why Harold and I are here. Yeah. That, if the guys are nervous about going in and doing a sale, Harold and I will jump in and partner up with them and coach them along and do that.
Yeah.
And we're not saying they need it, but everybody brings a different aspect, and we learn stuff back and forth. Yeah. But our guys are very astute, and they're funny in their own each individual way. They all are funny back and forth with it all, but they know the business, and they love the business. And they're pros. They're sales professionals.
Yeah, they're professional enough that they can. You don't even realize, they're having fun, and they're sense of humor, but they just know what they're doing so much.
Yeah.
So much experience that.
And when you're transparent,
freely.
and when you're transparent, you're dealing with it every day. It comes natural. They know not to come to me for computer stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
Because I don't deal with computers.
I told them that.
Go to John.
That's not the guy to go see. It's funny, ironic.
Or if they don't know, they're going to find out for you.
Right. I don't deal with that. Call John.
Yeah.
Or if they need an opinion on an auction piece, call Jody. Jody's been in the auction business for 25 years.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you need a transportation thing or a fuel thing, call Lonnie. He's been at that 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So we're not too good to say, I'm going to ask him for help with that.
Oh man, that's such simple and
We
good,
played in his
healthy
strengths.
advice, because a lot of us want to pretend that we're good at different things, and really we can only be good at a few things, right? We're all only really good at a few things, and when you see a team come together and everybody's filling that void, it's pretty awesome. See them run like a machine, and everybody's happy and doing where they belong, where they're getting energy, and not if it's something they're not meant to do, their energy levels are going to fall pretty quick.
And that's the funny part. Like, when a year and a half ago, we didn't have this business.
Yeah.
All right. And we've come such a long way in the first day to where we are in a year and a half to even being here today and having this podcast and doing it on our own,
And I imagine it's kind of like a milestone where you're kind of reflecting, you're talking about your business. So this is kind of like, you're kind of maybe like it's settling in what's happened in the last year and a half just because of this.
We're sitting this morning. Okay. So we're very early risers, him and I. Okay. We're early risers. Now, I never texted him until it was 10 after 8 or 20 after 8 this morning, but I was up in terms of it, and he knew that, but we were just taking him. So we went to McDonald's to have a bite to eat, and we sat out in the truck, and the car was coming down, or the rain was coming down, and it was a step for us. It was this, like you said, this is another step in our growth of our company, and we look at each other and go, oh, we're doing it. We're doing it, and we're doing it having fun.
Yeah.
And if I can say anything to anybody, we say it to each other, man, there's nobody else I'd rather go. Ride or die is my right-hand guy here. We have fun with it. We talk about sports. We talk about life. We talk about business. We talk about what we're doing. But every step of it, we're laughing. We're carrying on. And you know what? We've had our arguments, and we've had our argument that way. And if you don't have an argument, how true and solid are you?
Yeah, the more you guys can argue, the more you guys can fight about things in a healthy way, the better your company's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, I come from professional sports. We used to fight in practice, fist fight.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get any more passion.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you're going to lunch with them.
And I'm the lover. I'm not the fighter.
You know what I mean? And Paul Maurice, that's a great. We bring in inspirational speakers, and one of our speakers was Jay Harrison. He played in the NHL for years. I played with him in I think I was in Toronto with him, and he was talking about. He said a quote by Paul Maurice. You know Paul Maurice, their coach. I actually had him in Carolina too.
Yeah, because he just left Winnipeg last year, right?
Yeah.
So where is he now?
He's taking some time off.
Man, he's a great coach.
Yeah,
right?
he'll bounce back somewhere.
He must have a reputation in the league of being an awesome coach.
He's
seems
a
like
fantastic
an awesome coach.
guy.
I wouldn't know, but he does seem like a solid coach.
Fantastic guy, fantastic communicator. But Jay relayed a quote that he said at our meeting, and and it's interesting, and it really struck home. Is in a team atmosphere, like that person is going to disappoint you every day because you have expectations for them, right?
Yeah.
But you got to find a way to love them anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I expect him
Don't
to
use
be
that
so
word
much
enough
better.
in business either.
No.
What's that?
Love.
Yeah.
We got to love people.
well,
we're human beings.
Yeah.
It just
and
means to will the good of the other person. right?
Actually,
It's not
we said
like
that the other day because, sometimes you do have to come down and you do have to be hard on these people.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to be reassured that it's tough love. It's not, this is to help you grow.
Exactly.
We didn't get up this morning and try to, invent a way to get mad at you.
Yeah.
Right? Or to work with you somehow. It's
It's
tough
to make the
love
team
thing.
better.
Absolutely.
It's to win.
And you know what? That
As a group.
part there about making the team better, that was it. Like, we bring in speakers. Like, we're an 8-person employee company, and we have Jay Harrison, who deals with the NHL PA, talking about, how to run successful high.
That's amazing. That's
and we're
great.
only 8 people.
Yeah.
And we do it. And reason why?
Yeah, but to get 8 people to come together on a common goal, it's just as hard to do that as it is to get 50.
Right. But what we're doing is we're not just doing this for the company. We're allowing them to grow in that other aspect. Like, Jay, there's one nugget that we pulled out of that wood with that one. Each one of our guys, each one of our team members took a nugget out of there and said, this is what we have. So we're bringing in that. So even though we're small in terms of size, we're large in terms of where we want to grow and what we want to do. And we want everyone that works with us and does any business with us to grow, whether you're a contractor, whether you're a subcontractor, transportation. We'll help you out wherever we can. If there's a piece of business going on and we're not involved in it, hey, there's a guy looking for it. Like today, we took a phone call before we came in here. Hey, I want to buy this. Can you set me up with a transportation company? Sure, not a problem. So we'll connect that with someone in Nova Scotia, maybe someone different, and that piece will be shipped out. That's what we're about. We're not about just, okay, well, maybe that's an avenue we go and transport. We don't want that. There's people that do transportation. Let them do it and share that end of it. And we just connect them, connect the dots.
Focused.
That's it. Yeah. Focus is the key.
Yeah.
There's so many avenues you could run down here, and rabbit hole here, rabbit hole there. One bit of advice you're talking about it.
Being a rabbit hole.
The rabbit holes. The entrepreneur, anyone starting out, stick with your focus. Stick with what you're good at. yes, you can expand. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
But stick with what got you here, and then look at it and go further. And that's what we're.
Brian Burke used to say, "Dance with the girl that brought you."
Yep, that's right. That's a funny one too. I interviewed Harold. He goes,
Tell
"Yeah,
us some more hockey stories.
I'll tell you this one.
Oh, Berkey. You get me talking about Berkey.
He was a hard ass,
million
eh?
stories.
I'll
Best
tell you
guy
this one.
ever. Best guy, best general manager ever.
I'll tell you this
He's
one.
pretty good as a
Communicator."
well on TV. He's good too.
Yeah.
He's on TSN.
One of the last
Hockey
things
Night.
he said to me, "Drukes, I love you. The coach hates you. You got to go."
That's it. But here's another one
yeah.
that he had. When I interviewed him in terms of a
Berkey?
position. No, this was from another one of Harold's backgrounds in terms of sports. John, he called me up. He said, I got a couple references. One I'd really like to use, but he's no longer around. And I'm like, who's that? And he goes, Pat Quinn. I said, oh, okay, yeah, Pat Quinn be a reference. Yeah. Okay, Pat, unfortunately, had passed away at the time in terms of, but that was that end of it. And, we talk about it and we laugh and we joke, and like you said about Berkey in terms of, and he's got tons of stories that he can relay in terms of it that are both podcastable and non-podcastable, I guess you could say, in terms of
Sure.
it. But that is something else that we look at. We're not leveraging what we want to do, but there's other things we want to bring back into communities. So Eastern Frontier is not just about selling equipment. We have long-term, where do you think we're going to go? We have long-terms that we want to leverage the people that we've known and what we can do and just bring stuff back into the communities. And that's another part of our business that we haven't even touched yet. At 18 months, that is another angle out of it. And we've got technology ideas that we've got planned that we sit down and we look at it, year 3, year 4, year 5.
Sure.
And the hockey part of it and what we can do. And, he's played hockey with the best of them. And he's one of the best and played World Juniors and plays with, Joe Thornton. I was just happened the other day. I was watching something. Thornton was doing workouts, and now, by the way, he doesn't have those 40 pounds on. Jumbo was pretty good, but he was
still
doing
pretty good shape.
He's in awesome
And
shape.
what
is
is he? What is he now? 42.
Yeah, he's
43?
actually 9 months. He was drafted first overall the year I was drafted, so
Yeah.
I played junior against him. And
So
everything.
who's
He's
the best?
9 months younger than me.
Who's the best player and worst player you played with in the NHL or against?
The
Could
best
you name
I don't
name
know.
one?
Messier was probably. I played with Messier in Vancouver,
Yeah,
so
okay.
he'd probably be the most famous, best player. I wouldn't want to. Say
so
who
many,
the worst
right?
is. I'd have to really think about it. But when it comes to those guys, we all sucked compared to those guys anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
I was looking for some good content for a quick snippet.
There's tons of it in terms of.
No.
But I shouldn't have put you on the spot like that either.
Just give me a genre, and I'll go that way.
Once the camera's off, I'm sure you'll share a little bit more.
Yeah, what are you guys looking for? High finance, romance? What kind of genre are you looking for?
No, in all seriousness, though, part of our mission statement, I don't really like that term, but for lack of a better term, is shedding light on passionate people and organizations across Atlantic Canada. And it's a lot bigger reason why we started doing what we're doing. So it's been a pleasure for us, the team at Atlantic Construction Podcast, to connect with you and to hear about the story, and just being only a year and a half in, and just to be around that passion, and for us to sit and hear some stories and everything you guys are doing. It's great to hear, and we're certainly going to follow you guys and the journey that you started, and just a real treat to sit with you both.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
no,
thank you.
We thank you. Coming up here was important for us to get a look at the markets again and see everything, but also to get the name out there and just let everybody know that, if you're looking to buy, purchase, sell, or you're just looking to see what you got to do, give us a call. Check out our website.
Sure.
Call any one of our guys and area managers in any of the provinces, and we'll be more than to help you and get you what needs to be done.
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
we'll get your links. We'll get your links and everything like that on all the stuff that we put out, as we always do, and hopefully we can get some people coming your way that haven't before. So
it's good.
Yeah, exposure is key. Like I said, we've been running hard in Newfoundland, but we're branching out now, and it's something that New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and PEI could really use.
We're coming.
So.
Absolutely.
We're coming hard.
Get ready. Coming in hot.
Oh, yeah. We're coming hot. There's no two ways about it, but that's
Frontier.
good. Eastern Frontier. Thanks.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot. This episode is brought to you by Cook Insurance, your trusted insurance broker in Atlantic Canada for 50 years. Insurance is complex, and the Cook team focuses on delivering comprehensive solutions for your construction needs, including builder's risk, wrap-up liability, performance bonds, and project-specific construction. A Navicord partner since 2020, Cook is one of the largest construction brokers in Canada and offers national strength with a local touch. Whatever your insurance needs are, Cook has you covered. We would like to take this time to thank a longtime sponsor of our media platform, FCA Surety, The brokers at FCA Surety are experts in all surety bonding categories and provide unparalleled service during the bonding process. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Atlanta Construction Podcast. Be sure to follow us on any podcast platform you use. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Instagram at Atlanta Construction Podcast. Be sure to send us a comment or a review. We'd love to engage with you.